Alrighty, so here we go. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, are we allowed to, like, I understand this is like our notes, but can we take extra notes?
Oh, honey, yes, absolutely, absolutely. You don't have to write on this, it's just most kids do, but you can write whatever you want. This is your guideline now for what's happening. Okay, now, everybody's quiet. And we're jumping right in. Tonight you have homework, it's in your book. If you do not have a book, you will need to get a book.
What's it called? So I can download it?
What's the book called?
I mean, it's Precal. Can I get on the iPad or does that have to be?
No, it doesn't come electronic. Sorry. All right, number one, here we go. We're going to find the decimal form of 15/8. Any ideas?
2.125?
Moses, you're exactly right. How did you know that?
I knew 1/8 is 1.25.
0.125, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so suppose you had a fraction you didn't know. Suppose it were 15/7. You probably don't know the sevens. What would you do if you were going to change that to a decimal?
Divide it.
You actually would do the division. And this is 15 divided by 8. And we're not in 3rd grade, we're not practicing long division. So assuming that we all have our trusty graphing calculators, that wouldn't have to be a graphing calculator, but you need one. All you do is 15 divided by 8, and just as Moses said, 2.125.
You're a freak.
Next one, negative 11/6. We're going to do exactly the same thing. Negative 11/6, negative 1.83. What's that little bar over that 3 mean? It means it repeats. Now, is there anybody in this room that's got an issue with that? Who said pre-cal was hard? We got homework problems just like this tonight. All right, next, describe and graph. Somebody read this to me. What's that say?
X is greater than 3.
X is greater than 3, absolutely. Now, like I said, we're not in 3rd grade anymore, so we need to know that's a greater than symbol. That's a greater than. Now it says graph it. Describe it and graph it. X is greater than 3. What are we talking about on the number line? X is greater than 3.
A vertical line through 3 on the x-axis.
Oh, now wait a minute. You're graphing in 2 dimensions? We're putting this on the number line. I wasn't clear. If this were 2-dimensional on the Cartesian coordinate plane, you're absolutely right. It would look like this with a dashed line, and it would be shaded this way. We're doing it on the number line, a little bit easier. This is like the advanced. Good job. We're doing it on the number line. What do I do on the number line?
You like circle the 3 and then go?
And I gotta close that dot in, or am I gonna leave that open? I'm gonna leave that open because it's not an or equal to, right? And then which way do I shade on my number line? To the greater than, right? To the right. Everybody okay with that? All right, how about this next one? What are we talking about here? Let's start with reading it. Somebody new that hasn't spoken today. Who can read this to me? What does this say?
Negative 4 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 2.
Perfect. Now, what would that look like on the number line? I'm going to have a negative 4 and a 2, right? I mean, those are the 2 numbers in the problem. So I'm going to have a negative 4 and a 2. What am I going to do with those?
Circle -4.
I'm going to put a circle on both of them. Yep. Am I going to color in either of those? They're both going to be open?
2.
I'm going to shade in the 2 because it has an or equal to and fill in the middle. Very nicely done. The x is in between the negative 4 and the 2, so I color every number in between the negative 4 and the 2. Oh boy. Ghoul! You are going to shine since you sat through last period.
Okay.
What does that mean, Mr. Ghoul?
The coordinate?
Okay, this is an interval. This is
Okay.
what we talked about last period, do you
Okay.
remember?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. What does this mean?
It's in between the -1 and the 3.
It's in between the negative 1 and the 3. So again, I have a negative 1 and a 3. Now, Ryan, do you remember if the parentheses indicate closed or open circles?
Open.
open symbols. This is called an open interval, you guys. You may have never seen this notation before. It's called an open interval. Now, Ryan was exactly right. If you were walking down the hall and you found this just laying there, you wouldn't know if it was an ordered pair or if it was an interval. So you have to have a context. I'm telling you this represents an interval, which is all the numbers between -1 and 3. In other words, this notation is simply another way of writing this. All the numbers between -1 and 3. And the parentheses notation always represents open circles. It's called an open interval. This is the notation that those of you that go on to study the calculus, this is the notation you'll use. You won't write things this way. You'll write them this way. Okay? Next one. Same exact idea, folks. Same idea, except it's got a different notation here. Instead of the parentheses, it has a bracket. Anybody want to just take a wild guess what that bracket might mean? That's a closed dot, exactly. That's the symbol for a closed dot. Now, notice I closed the -2, but I left the 6 open. Why did I leave the 6 open? Because the 6 has a parentheses, right? So, if I want to write this as an inequality, that is like this is called an inequality. If I wanted to write it that way, I would have my -2, my x, and my 6. And then here, because that's closed, I would put less than or equal. And here just a plain less than. When you write, these are called compound inequalities, when you write the inequalities like this, the symbols are always less than. You never put a greater than in one of those. They're always less than when you write them this way. Uh-oh, look at E. You may want to take a stab at this one. Somebody who hasn't spoken yet today. In this class, I mean. Zach Bond, you got an idea?
No, I was kind of late.
Okay, now, Mr. Bond, we need to come to an agreement here, okay? This is not a spectator sport. This is a participatory sport.
Oh, well, I was a fan, though.
Okay, no, I need you to participate.
I mean,
Hey, you're going to find yourself on the JV bench if you're not careful. You are participating.
I mean, I said, like, I didn't even, all right, I feel you.
Yes. All right. Somebody else. Anybody got an idea? Have you seen this symbol before? I don't draw it very well. It's supposed to be like exactly sideways like that. What is that symbol?
Infinity.
That's the symbol for infinity. So we are looking at all the way to negative infinity, which would be clear out here, right? And then here's 4. What does that tell me? So there's a closed dot at 4, and then what do you think I do?
You don't write anything there.
I don't write anything over here, I just shade the whole shebang that way, right? So if I were going to write that as an inequality, it would be x is less than or equal to 4. You okay with that? Now tonight in your homework, in your book, you're going to be doing some of those. Listen, and not having a book is not an excuse. If you don't have a book, take a picture of somebody that does, okay?
Is the book online?
Well, it's in the e-campus thing, but you can't get it electronically. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow, all right? The homework's posted, Schoology. Get on there and find it. If you can't find it, you need to email this report. Awesome, Brian. Your brother's sat right up there. Have a good day, people. Okay, Liz, I'm glad you're in this class.